where news comes first.
That's what they do over there. All right, back to the discussion here. Florian, do you have any last thoughts? Because we're going to refocus our conversation here. Any last thoughts on Columbus?
Just if anybody wants to find out more, I mean, go out to Columbus. You can also, there's all kinds of events planned for the next few years, and you can find them out on Facebook, on the Historic Village of Columbus Facebook page.
Okay, cool.
Which is moderated by the Mayor Salas, and he's really focusing on the history of Columbus.
All right.
Not just the raid. It also talks about Buffalo Soldiers and so on and so
forth. No, the whole city is interesting to go take a look at. They've got the Pancho Villa State Park right there.
Well, and you also have the military museum that's out there. It's fantastic. It really takes you back to that time period as to what it was like then.
All right, now we're going to turn our guns, so to speak, onto another part of the conversation. So more toward the end of Villa's existence, and we have Raul Villanava, grandson of Pancho Villa, and you're living in California. What part of California are you living out there?
I live over in the Bay Area.
Bay Area, okay. And you toured Mexico with your father, and you heard stories about the Villa history. The question is, how did that come about? Because he had a picture on the wall and wouldn't talk about it.
Yeah, we had a picture on our wall, growing up. It was like a fixture, like a light fixture, just sitting there for many, many years. And, growing up in the house, it was the famous picture with him on his horse, with his bandolera and guatemala and a sombrero.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second. What I'm gonna have to do here is put Cindy on hold and put Kansas City on hold because they're making noise. Okay, now your turn. Go ahead, Raul.
Yeah, so we had that picture on the wall, and when I was dating at the time, my girlfriend, she popped the question. She says, "Wow, look at that photo with your father on the horse." And I said, "No, that's not my father." I heard little stories, but never really went out and asked my dad the question. Who is this? Who is this? I had no clue that it was Pancho Villa.
Typical teenager, yeah.
So, what evolved after that? What happened?
Did you lose me?
No, what happened after that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we lost the connection there.
No, we're good. We're good.
What happened after that? When I started doing more research, on the computer, and I says, "Wow, comparing, I print out photos and stuff, and comparing the photos to my father, and how the resemblance was so close. I said, wow, there's probably something there, I asked my mom, and she said, that's your father's father. That's Pancho Villa.
Wow.
And that's when I started doing a lot of investigation on the story.
So what did you think? What did you think when you started investigating Pancho Villa? What did you think when you found out the details of the guy?
Well, I looked at the positive things that he did, by helping a lot of the poor people in Mexico, and how he adopted children and gave education, and just a lot of things that I was trying to sift through everything, because there's so much history, a lot of controversial stories that you hear.
Right.
So that took me, to read more and more and more. And I said, Dad, how about we take a trip to Mexico? And my dad hadn't gone back there in like 70 years. He made his own little trip to Mexico when he was 14 years old, when he broke off from his uncles who were on the other side of Villa. He fought against Villa.
Oh.
So they treated my father really bad.
Oh, boy.
So he took off and went into the mountains of Mexico trying to search the history of his father, and ended up with some of the Indians up there telling me stories how the Indians were making tortillas and flipping them and throwing them like frisbees, stories like that. And he had an awesome time, while he was up there trying to learn all this history. So he eventually came back home to New Mexico. My dad was down in the New Mexico area there, in Hatch and Rincon, and grandmother never knew that he took off. You know, he was supposed to go work with his uncles on some land or something, but he just exited and went up into the mountains of Mexico. So that's how that story goes. So anyway, I asked my father if I could take him to Mexico to, look into a lot of his history, and he says, sure, let's do it. So at that time, I was heavily into construction and everything, and I was trying to wrap up some jobs and finish like the night before we were supposed to leave like the next day. I got in late because I was working, and then we flew into Guadalajara and took a plane into Durango. We landed in Durango, and then from Durango, we rented a car from Durango, and we drove into Parral. And when we drove into Parral, Chihuahua, we stood in a hotel there, and we spent some time there. We went to the museum in Parral. When we went to the museum, my father was explaining to me a lot of the history there. All of this picture of this, and this type of gun is, this is he was explaining to me about the guns and everything, and all these things, and he was just walking around, and he had his sombrero that I'm wearing right now.
You got it on. Okay.
I put it on.
We have a picture.
I put it on for this interview.
Okay, we have a picture of you up without it, but that's okay.
Yeah. So we did that, and then we were there for it was just like a couple of days, and then we go back to the hotel, and in the hotel there was pictures of Pancho Villa in the hotel, and the hotel at that time was Hotel Turista in Parral, Chihuahua. So when we're in the hotel, the day that we're leaving, the next day, I asked my dad, can you tell anybody here in Mexico who you are? And he says, well, at my age, it doesn't matter, So I told the janitor, I told the janitor who he was. The janitor says, oh, don't leave, stay. And we called the owner of the hotel, and he comes down. And it turns out that the owner of the hotel is the gentleman that started the what they call the Cabalgata Villista in Parral, Chihuahua. And that's the horse ride, where they all come on horseback riding from Chihuahua, Juarez to Parral. And he says, we have an event here every year for the reenactment of how your grandfather was killed. Have conferences. They have all sorts of things. And, we started this in 1996, is what he told me. And he told my father. And I said, yeah, we'll be back. So I took him back. I took my father back. Here my father's like 88 years old. He's over in Parral. And all this history's coming out, in his late 80s.
Yeah.
And so it was it was a lot of stuff. So we go back and they have a reenactment of how Pancho Villa was killed.
I'll tell you what, let's take a break. We're going to take a break right here. Come back and tell us about the details on that. We have a couple of pictures. Because I think you're versed on, but since you went to the museum, you've been to the site, you've seen the car, right?
Yes, I've seen the car.
All right. We're going to come back in a minute. I also want to put Cindy back on here. Cindy, we got you back, and Florian, you're back on in case you need to talk to us. Any last thoughts? We've got to take a break here, Cindy.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, fair enough. We're going to take a break and come back and wrap this up. If you guys have a comment, we'll get to it at that point. And we got a whole bunch of Facebook people.
Oh, yeah.
These people just go on our page and take a look at that. It's just on and on and on.
There's history of families, like I said earlier, that there's families that are, have had incidents where were killed or involved or rode with Villa.
Oh.
It's amazing. It's just fantastic.
It's all coming out there. All right, back in a moment. Andrew, hit the button.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com.
And now let's turn back the pages of time and return to the El Paso History Show. Brought to you by Patrick Tuttle Legacy Real Estate Services, 915-585-7777. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant, 6761 Donovan Drive. By Monterey Asset Management, By Mission Del Rey, 1421 Lee Trevino, with El Paso souvenirs and gift shopping. By Keystone Heritage Park on Donovan Drive, 915-584-0563. Here again, El Paso history with Melissa Sargent and Jackson Polk.
Just about out of here. We're going to ask Raul to wrap up Villa. He's going to have to kill Villa in about 2 minutes. But
we have a question for him also. So.
and then also you had a quick announcement.
Yeah, I just want to announce real quick. Rick Kern, El Paso rock and roll historian, has also been a past guest and host of the El Paso History Radio Show. He has an excellent new rock and roll history podcast called Talk and Rock Radio, a podcast for rock and roll stories. And we'll talk about him later. We have more time, but definitely go to his website, which is talkandrockradio.com, and check it out. He has a great story. It was with Dalton Powell, who was with Bobby Fuller and Chuck Berry and many other people.
Oh, hey, yeah, those guys are. I heard the whole thing. It's great stuff. Okay, real quick, we got Cindy Medina still on the line, and you guys your phones are active, so just remember that. And Florian Vattel is with us, if I said that right. And the guy on the phone at the man of the hour is a grandson of Pancho Villa, Raul Villa Nava. And now you're going to have to kill Pancho, but we have one question from Mark Flores.
Yeah, Mark Flores was asking, what were Villa's alleged last words?
Do you know any of
Have you
that?
heard about that?
Tell them I said something.
Yeah.
In other words, he was not going to be quiet. Let him know that I said something.
Oh,
yeah.
God. Wow.
In fact, that's what Mark found in a book. It was from famous last sayings of people.
So like in about 1920, the government of Mexico made a deal with Villa to retire, paid him off or something. He went and retired on his little rancho there near Parral. And so he was going that day to the bank or something. Instead of taking a normal 8 or 10 bodyguards, he took only 3, right? Something like that.
I believe there was like 4 people in
4?
the vehicle.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened? He
And,
kept trucking down the street.
So when we arrived there in Parral, we saw the reenactment.
Oh.
And so what happened was Pancho Villa purchased a Dodge Brothers Roadster, and it was a 1919 Dodge Brothers Roadster. And so they got that Roadster across the river with horses, because they had to get on the other side. So he had that vehicle, and when he was driving that vehicle in Parral, they yelled out, "Viva Villa!" And then they assassinated him, ambushed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine saying Viva
that's
Villa,
how
you would
it
have
died.
looked, yeah.
I think we have the pictures up on that right now. It's a matter of they really blew the car away, and then Villa's body was desecrated. They took his head somewhere. Who knows? But they eventually he's buried in Mexico City. What's left of him, right?
Correct. That's what they say. Yeah. Of course,
Okay.
in 1976, I believe it was.
All right. Any last
when that
thought,
happened.
Raul? Any last thoughts on that whole thing?
Well, I'm glad that I was able to recover this, the history that my father held for so many years. That trying to find out, the true history that he can learn.
Oh,
from
hold on.
it.
We lost Cindy, I think. Okay.
Oh, okay. That's what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was able to do that with him. So that was relieving a load from him. From something that he had.
Okay, Raul. We need a book out of you, Raul. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You know you do. You got to write this book
Yeah.
on all your trip.
Get you a ghostwriter and you just relay your memories and he'll put it together for you.
Oh yeah, no, even maybe you can do it. But the point is, go ahead.
For the tip.